tell you, it's been a long time just I sat around and all I did was chat, 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 and chat. And I miss it. Oh no, I didn't say that. 0020, Minor Arcana, Swords. Now, I was thinking on one of the last ones if I was going to talk about reverses yet or not, and I've decided not to. Ace of Swords, clear. There's at least one other reader that as soon as I said Ace of Swords, they're giggling. Planning, concepts of thought, arrangement, looking at your thought pattern and laying out what your clear course, clear direction, and clear path is going to be. It is taking the situation by the hands and you're walking into that process, and there's really, quite often when this comes up, there's no way around it. You've already got the business plan on the bank's desk, or the idea is so compelling within your mind that you're just going to make it happen anyway. But it's action. It's thought in action. And that action and motion forward is where the authority, the regalness, and that capacity to accomplish your goals, your desires, your tasks, and your achievements starts to come through in the shiniest and most positive way. This is supreme thought. This is you have the cunning edge in mind to act and move your thoughts forward, or your process of thoughts move in such a way that an authority and a communicative nature of them is definitely readily available. Moving into fuck thoughts. As soon as you get two thoughts, everything's just weird because which thought is the genuine process? So the number 2 becomes confusion, skepticism, weighing your options, trying to figure out which way you're supposed to go, trying to figure out what is the capacity of the situation around you. Notice the blindfolded nature. You're working more so on what you can feel and think your way through, less so on what you can see and what your interactions are. What we see will usually elicit an emotional response, but what we think will always be within our own thoughts. And remember, sword energy is all about that thought energy expressing itself in the right way. This is looking through the two processes that you're dealing with. Do I go left or do I go right? Do I become a cop or do I become a firefighter? Do I become a person that is of the people, or do I stick to my own self and my own nature and my own being? This is that taking that period of peace to measure what is really it that fits with your mind the best. 3 of Swords, almost said cups, look at me go. A lot of people look at the 3 of Swords and notice the sorrow, the things that are amiss, the things that are wrong. See, heartbreak is definitely an element that comes in with this one, but what you got to remember with the 3 of Swords, and swords in general, is that we are talking about thought processes and energies around thought more than anything else. So it's not supposed to touch so much on the emotional side of the heartbreak and the heart miss. It's more so the process of going through the thoughts of this is what it is. And don't just think heartbreak as, well, my boyfriend or my husband left. Think of it more in the dynamic, more in the connection of I've lost my friend, I've lost my job. These things have stabbed my thought. These ideas of what if I did something wrong, or what if it was my actions that made this happen. A person's house burns down. They can't figure out the cause. Did I leave a toaster plugged in? Like, what the fuck happened? The family dog gets away. Did I lock the gate, or was it something that I did that made it so that situation could happen? Yes, it can tie towards heartbreaks and heart pains, but as a little trick, if you see nothing on the emotion side, but you see a lot with this guy showing up, sometimes it can be is that they've already emotionally detached from a relationship, and now they just need to go through the thought process of why they put up with it as long as they did. Which, looking at all you devil-attracted people. 4 of Swords. 4 of Swords about rest, relaxation. You've gone through your shit and shenanigans, you've thought through the process, and now you need to relax and sit with that a little bit. This is one of the best healing cards in here. Why? Because it's about taking yourself out of the chaos and the activity and the action, the movement, and actually letting yourself just sort of sit and enjoy peaceful mind. The thoughts aren't haunting you anymore. The thoughts aren't nagging you anymore. You're kind of released from that point, and you can get that deep sleep and restful state and restful being. You're finding yourself at a pinnacle point, a plateau. And every time you plateau, you want to make sure you take some time to look at your stocks, your resources, your supplies, and make sure that you're ready for the next climb up to the next plateau. So this is a really, really good recovery period energy to help kind of get yourself back to the full form and full capacity of what you are. 5 of Swords. This one can go either way for some people. Some people see it as their defeat and their loss, and they're the one that's going through suffering and pain. Other people see it as learning from defeat, learning from loss, learning from suffering and pain. And I think really this is where we start understanding more the personal interpretation nature of the tarot decks. Absolutely, take this and receive from it a connotation of learning from mistakes, learning from misdeeds. One of the big things to remember, though, is that we have to collect our thoughts and collect our process if we are actually going to learn from these things. Another deck I've seen has shattered swords, and the shattered swords being broken thoughts, being defeated by a monster. If you don't really learn from your mistakes and learn from your situations, you're going to make the same thing happen again. If I go up to an electric fence and pee on it, I'm going to learn how it shocks me. And if I'm lucky, it'll shock me intermittently because it's a cattle fence. If I'm unlucky, it'll shock me really fucking hard because it's a goddamn bear fence surrounding a dump. Pick your battles, though. If you can't look at the situation and go, I know both these fences are electrified, but what are they trying to keep out or in? And how would you differently affect those critters? You're not applying the Five of Swords correctly. Thank you, Dad, by the way, for that story, because for the rest of my life, no one will ever know where I actually pissed. Six of Swords, moving on from defeat, from pain, from agony, moving forward, taking what is important to you, the thoughts and processes that you needed, and taking that next step forward. This is picking up the lessons, this is doing something with them. Whereas this is realizing in a moment, I shouldn't have done that. This is saying in future moments, I'm not going to do that. And the difference in energy and the difference in form there being very much about moving and evolving oneself forward as much as possible. Six of Swords must be seen as a release. If you see it as sitting with toxic thought, then you're going to absorb that negative situation and you're going to trap yourself with it, and that's the wrong pathway. It instead has to be realizing that you have learned the lesson that you need to learn and now you're applying it into your life through the actions of what you're doing at this time. Keep those actions consistent and moving forward in that right process and that right dynamic, and you're going to do just fine in the long run. Seven of Swords. Now, this is another one of those cards that people will tell you is god-awful and evil and mean. Not necessarily a cheater, but a wolf in sheep's clothing that's looking to rob you, steal you, or take from you. Which is sometimes cheating on you if there's not so much an emotional attachment. You know, you're friends with benefits, you think it's exclusive, and it turns out that they're shagging 50 girls in a weekend. Then it bothers you, right? There's thought processes and concepts. You think that you're the only person that plays with the guy at pool, and then you find out he's got two other teams. Or you thought that your best friend and you were going to go to Platinum in Apex Legends, and then it turns out that your best friend's given up to go to Modern Warfare. Asshole. Things like that, where someone is just moving in a way that's for their own agenda. Now, if you look at it as an attack upon you, one, was it really intended that way? And if yes, then get a fucking person's gone. Be happy. If no, and you're taking it as an attack on yourself, then you're reading too much into the personal nature of the person. My buddy going off and playing Warzone is his own venture. He needs to do this for him, and I know that in the long run. And instead, it's not that he's being sly and mean to me. It's that he's being tactically minded in how he can best move himself forward for the future. Sometimes the tactical choice is to take what you've gotten from somebody and move on forward. And it's nice if you can do so gracefully and not like this shithead, but if you can't, do it quickly, do it swiftly. If you are the one that's being the wolf in sheep's clothing, strike, get it done, get it over with. Sometimes you just gotta be the shit. Hey, thanks for the fish, goodbye, and off the dolphins went. Other times, it is more of a process of you have to watch for those people that may be taking advantage of you on a consistent basis, and watch your gates and watch your guards. Are you making yourself a victim for these people to come in and basically walk over you? It's shitty if your PlayStation walks out of your house, but why is it in your living room if you live in a shared house? It's little things that you just gotta kind of look at the bigger picture of. Truly, I don't like clever people in general. Tactical minded I can deal with, but be honest and be upfront with your tactical mindedness and you can take away all of the sting of this card. But if you're keeping secrets and keeping your agenda to yourself, you're going to do harm with this one. Be careful. Eight of Swords. Bondage. Oh shit, shouldn't say that out loud. Why not? Anyway, being stuck in a situation where you feel tied down, constrained, restrained, trapped, not being able to quite figure out your placement. Now, again, we've got this blindfolded concept going on here, not really sure what's going on, confusion, skepticism. You have to work more so with your thought process than with what your senses are telling you. Two, notice that there's a gate between the swords that she is standing in. You can make your escape. There's an area here that you can actually move through and make passage happen, but you have to be very careful with your steps and not rush your actions. It's more of a feel for what feels right, safe, and appropriate. This usually comes up when people are trying to restrict you, hold you back, or contain you in some way. And sometimes the only way to get free is to walk away from it. Other times it's more of a find your swords and communicate back with the way that you can challenge them and take that power back from them. Don't stay in this position for long. This can become very, very dangerous and very, very destructive. For example, the Nine of Swords, anxiety, depression, sleepless nights, letting thoughts recycle over and over and over in your head to the point that it becomes contained madness. Losing health, losing physical well-being, losing mental acuity, anxiety, paranoia, not depression. I don't usually touch depression to this one, but anxiety and paranoia I absolutely do. Never things that necessarily people want to engage in or want to enjoy. Ten of Swords is where I get the depression point. And that's where it's complete destruction of the mind, the collapse of the thoughts against you, that absolute overwhelming nature. And see, you'll notice there's sort of that progression in that final three. You'll also notice I like using threes when we're talking about combos and key points. There's a reason for that. The Eight of Swords and getting yourself in a situation that you can no longer be in control of can eventually lead you into a situation where you feel like you've lost control of your destiny, and even when you are in your own space, in your own safe place, your bed should be your temple after all, you still can't get away from those negativities. So you gotta nip this problem at this stage before it becomes this problem. If it gets to this point, call in the reinforcements, call the help. These two cards, there's an isolation and a blackness that has to be acknowledged. If you're seeing a lot of that energy, it usually means that you need somebody else to come in and support you and bring that light to you. The light's not self-generating. Find support, find assistance. If you are finding this card is coming up a lot and you're feeling a lot of akinness to the self-destructive nature of this energy, please contact me. I don't care what's going on in your life. I don't care who you are, where we're at. We could be old friends. We could be brand new strangers. If you are seeing the self-destruction in this card and feeling like applying it to yourself, please contact me immediately. If you know anyone that is suffering under that weight, please be open to hearing them. If you yourself cannot carry the weights, then make sure you are ready and equipped with tools to help them along the path. Suicide hotlines, shelters, food supplies. Basically have a kit so you can provide care of the heart, roof, water, food. And if those four things can be met, any situation that's creating this for somebody can usually be resolved. But the first thing that they need is to be heard, listened to, understood, comprehended. Focus on the comprehension of a person that is suffering under this, and you'll do them the best justice of all. Page, excited, initiative, going out into the world and just kind of eager to swing around this big old sword in their hand. But damn, that sword's bigger than them, so it's going to be a little bit clumsy, it's going to be a little bit awkward. They need guidance, they need tutelage, they need awareness to hold their thoughts a little bit more clearly. This is clumsy philosophy, this is clumsy communication, and just needing that forgiveness and that patience as you're kind of going through that process of learning how to express yourself properly. Knight of Swords, avant-garde action, moving forward, the charge. I have the initiative and energy and action, and everything in this is speed and swiftness. So there's a full spectrum here representing in full charge, in full motion, in full activity. Your thoughts are taking off, your words are taking off. This is communication, expression, leadership to a small extent, more so the self-actualization of you moving towards independent thought and creative yourself. Mother of Swords, I like the Mother of Swords more than some of the other queens. Still, Queen of Cups still your favorite. The thing with this one is they're good communicators, they're good expressors, they're nice people to go for tea time with. But the support is not so much in, it's not so much in the heart, and it's not so much in the logic. It's more in just that they're giving you that space and that environment for you to kind of figure yourself out. They're letting you play on the edge of their garden, but they're not letting you into their garden. And this is one of the best signs I've found for being able to lay out boundaries and what's appropriate and what's not, what's clear, what's accepted, and rejecting the things that they don't want to engage with. I've never met a Queen of Swords that can't kick somebody out of their house. Father of Swords, or the King of Swords. Authority, clear thought process. I find this one comes up a lot for medical professionals. If you had to take more than 7 years of school, this one might be yours as well too. And by medical professionals, I'm not just talking GPs, but psychiatrists, psychologists, the whole 9 yards. Because there's a lot of thought process and thought awareness that has to go into that work, and that's why I find that they come up with that. Authority figures, yes, sometimes, but it's the type of authority figure, and it's specific, I feel, to authority over thought, authority over word, authority over expression. They do quite often come up a little bit with business, and they do, of course, come up a little bit within expression or oration, so politics or pastors and priests and things like that. But the key element is usually just in that they have the words expressed right. Jordan Peterson would come up with this card, let's be frank. He has that expression, he has that word, he has that oratory nature, and this energy is going to kind of tap into that as well too. Usually fairly well thought, usually fairly well planned. They've usually got a good direction, good course, and good idea of what they want to see happening as their actions move forward into the future. Typically a well put together individual, not usually someone that you're looking to pick a fight with, but maybe someone you come up in conversation sparring with.